Alright guys, so this is gonna be a type of video that I don't make often. Usually I just post my one credit clears and commentaries for the ones that take me a lot of time, basically the hardest ones. But this video is gonna be a completely unique. So I've had this idea for a video for a while now. Uh, and basically, in this video, I'm going to be sharing my experience with Shmups, because I have been into these games way before I made this channel, and just talk about my experience, like playing these games, like how I thought of them first, and I'm also going to talk about other parts of my Shmup journey, like the Shmup community, how it's treated me, or how I see it, and stuff like that. So this video is mostly going to be unscripted. I'm just gonna just yap about whatever I feel like. Just yap about my shmup journey, basically. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy the video, and let's get right into it. Alright, so back in 2021, I was a big fan of retro games. I played a lot of games on the NES, on the SNES, on the Genesis, stuff like that. And to be honest, I still am now, as a matter of fact, because retro games are just awesome. Like, you. I'm not saying that modern games are bad, or like a modern game can't be good. Like, I still enjoy modern games from time to time. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, uh, retro games just give an experience that just can't be replicated with modern games. Like, they are, I don't know how to describe it. Uh, like, they were just built with more love back then, and I think that's why I really like them. Like, even though I didn't grow up in that era, I still have a great appreciation of them. So okay, back uh, uh, back back to the main point. So I was really into old school shooters as well. Uh, I played a lot of the Gradius games, and also Darius and Thunder Force. Those those series, I played a lot of it back then, and I had a lot of fun with them. Like, I thought they were like really cool. Like, they were just really fun to play. Even though back then I was like pretty bad at them. Like, I was abysmal at them, like freaking terrible. And so in order to like play through the full games, I just like save state scum, use save states to just make it through the game. So despite that, that didn't really ruin my enjoyment of the games. I still found them cool. All right, so a year later, in 2022, I discovered Touhou, the Touhou series, and as I was introduced to it, I was also introduced to the bullet hell subgenre. At the time, when I had never really played a bullet hell game before, so when I tried out Touhou for the first time, it was like, whoa, this is sick. And then, yeah, However, on like normal mode and stuff, I found it like too hard. So I just played on easy because I was a freaking noob. And I believe a few months later, I discovered Shmup Junkie on YouTube. His videos were also really helpful into getting me into the genre. So after watching a few of his videos, I start I hear about the playing a playing a game for a 1cc. Now, I had never heard of this before, and it was really interesting to me. The first time I've ever heard of this. So I went, although since I was still bad at shmups back then, I just got a few beginner clears. Back, there's a beginner, it's like a shmup beginner list out there. I'll go link it in the description. And I basically use that to get a few beginner tier clears, like Bluish, Resurrection Plus, Heaven Mode, and also a few Touhou Easy 1cc's. But I never really went much farther with that, and I eventually just started losing interest. Oh, okay. And then a year later, like, the year after that, in 2023, I discovered Eschatos. I believe it was again a Shmup Junkie video I watched that got me interested. And then that game basically got me back into shmups. Like the soundtrack especially is fantastic. Like the whole Eschatos itself is just fantastic. Like as he said, play Eschatos. Uh, and then from that I started getting back into shmups again. And so around that time I played Dodonpachi for the first time. I had heard of it a few times before, but I never really played it. And when I first played it, starting from stage 2, I got my ass kicked. Yeah, even back then, I thought stage 1 was hard for me. Like I don't think I made it past stage 3. And around that time, I also discovered Rising and their games like Battle Garega and Armed Police Bad Rider. Like I was really into those two games actually. Like I, especially Garega, I I had a lot of fun with that one. Like I played, let's try playing with like all the player types and stuff. Like the first time discovering this game, it was like so cool. Like it has this rank system. It has all these playable ships and characters. It also has all these like little buffs. Like you can pressing the C button will make your hitbox smaller and stuff like that. And it was like so cool to me. Like I played a lot of it back then, but again, since I was bad, I was still not very skilled. I couldn't uh really get past stage 3. Like I kept dying and I couldn't really get far. And yet, as hard as Garega was, I still loved it. Like I still had a lot of fun with it. Like it was just so cool to just toy around with all the different shot types and mechanics, and also mess around with the medaling too, score medaling. And again, and then later, again, I revisited the beginner list again, and got a few more clears there, but then I stopped again. Things slowed down again, and I again lost interest in shmups. Although, and and then in 2024, I I got into R-Type again, and R-Type's not new to me. At that point, I was also into it, along with Gradius, and I was also familiar with it. But I played R-Type 3. I started playing that on the SNES. And it had it has unlimited continues, and so at one point I thought like, so I will so I was like playing, like using the infinite continues to see how far I could get, basically limp from checkpoint to checkpoint. And I think the furthest I can make it was stage 4, like the lava beam stage where like the little lava beams would like pour out and like go in all different directions, and I think I actually was able to make it past that back then after a lot of tries. But I gave up at the boss, the stage 4 boss. I was like, nah. And then a little later in the year, I I occasionally played Touhou. Like I played normal mode on 1 credit. I would see how far I could get, but uh, I believe on normal, like I could get to stage 4, but I think that was the best I could do. By the way, that game was Touhou 10. I forgot to mention that earlier. So, and then again, it just died out. I just lost interest in Shmups because on those years, along the years though, I just thought like Shmups were just too hard for me, you know? Like, I don't think that I'm ever gonna get good at this genre. Like, it's just too difficult. Like, I'm never getting a 1cc, or at least I'm never getting a so-called impressive 1cc. And so I just quit at that time, and I didn't touch it again until last year in 2025. So it was the start of 2025. It was January, and at that time I was playing some DS games, specifically Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky, and Shiren the Wanderer. And the Mystery Dungeon series is my first exposure to the roguelike genre, and specifically Shiren the Wanderer really hooked me. And the reason why was because number one, it was really hard, and two, it really emphasized the items and resource management. So those two things, it really made me like the series. It was definitely a lot more engaging and challenging than Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I'm not saying Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is bad, but it's just Shiren's difficulty and resource management and all that stuff really interested me and really intrigued me. So while I'm not an expert on roguelikes, if you like roguelikes, I'd suggest maybe looking into Shiren the Wanderer a bit, playing it a little, see how I like it, because I'm a big fan of Shiren. All right, so but anyway, sorry for getting off track. So around that point, I got curious. I wanted to explore more of the DS library and maybe check out some of the more obscure one of the more obscure titles, the hidden gems. So I search up on Google Shmups on DS, something like that, and one of the first results was Ketsui Death Label, and then so I got Ketsui Death Label. I just started playing it, and it really the game really got me curious, and it did not disappoint. Even though it was just a boss rush, it was really it was a really interesting and fun game because the lock on mechanics and the little five chips. I never heard of this game before, so those things made me really interested. So I wanted to see what the original game was like, and then that led me to discover the original arcade version of Ketsui. And then I looked it up. I did some more research again, and then I heard that it was one of the hardest. It was one of the hardest shmups, one of the hardest bullet hells. And then I was like, wow. Although I really liked it though. Like I really found it cool. Like its aesthetic and all. So in fact, I had actually looked at a few two loop runs, Ura runs specifically. And then after looking at these expert players like do these Ura two walls and stuff like that, and like finding the cool, finding the cool ass TLB, Vacuneer Doom, I realized, maybe I want to start getting into shmups again. And so, but I was like, Ketsui, obviously it's too hard, so I'm gonna check the beginner list again and see what's in store for me. So I revisit the beginners list, and from the list I chose Soldier Blade to clear, and I'm not and Soldier Blade is actually probably one of my favorite shmups actually, even though it's easy now. But back then, uh, I found it pretty fun. Like, but I couldn't 1cc it. Even back then, I found it too hard to 1cc because I couldn't get past the stage 3 boss consistently. I would always die to it and then get chain killed in like stage 4 or something. And that was the case for a while until 2025. At that point, and so while I was doing while I was playing the game, and facing off against the stage 3 boss again, I realized something. The reason why I couldn't get past the stage 3 boss was because I was refusing to bomb. And all over Shmup forums, I hear, for tips for new beginners, I hear, use your bombs. You gotta use them when you think you can't dodge a pattern. And but I was like really stubborn, and I have no idea why. So I started bombing the stage 3 boss, and then I found out that, like, it actually go really pretty far in Soldier Blade. And after a few attempts, I was able to 1cc Soldier Blade. And the moment I got the 1cc, I felt a huge rush, a rush that I hadn't felt in a long time. And then at that point, I realized I want to actually start getting good at shmups. I want to start getting better. I want to start pushing myself to the limit. See, and start getting more 1ccs. And around that point, I realized, maybe I can actually post some of my clears to YouTube. So starting with GG Alesta 2, I got a normal 1cc on that, and it is the first clear that I uploaded on YouTube. And and then I basically, at that point, I started the Scorado STG's channel. And from that point on, I started getting better and better and better. It was a little slow, but eventually I started making more progress. More and more progress. And yeah. So ever since I started this channel, I have gotten a lot of clears. And I'm going to be going over what I think are my most impressive basically the most difficult clears I've managed to get in my journey so far. And I think the first ever serious 1cc that I actually did, I'd consider it to be my Dodonpachi 1-all with a C shot. And I got interested in getting this 1-all when I was still not that great. Like I was still kind of in a beginner, and so somewhere in like some Shmup forum, I heard that the Dodonpachi 1-all was actually not as hard as it seemed, and this interested me because like for the longest time I thought like Dodonpachi was like this super hardcore game that like only masters could play, and it just way too difficult for a noob like me to even think of once seeing it. And so I read into it, and then I found out that at like at the end of the game, like each death you gain one more bomb slot. So that means like so you start off with 3 bombs, right? And then every time you die, you gain one extra bomb. And then you're able to get up to 6. And then so and then apparently the total amount of bombs in the game was 30. And then I heard like when you like reach like stage 5 or 6, you can just bomb the crap out of it, and you'll get a really easy 1cc. So I was like, well, all right. So I started practicing Donpachi, and it was kind of rough at first. And then eventually I was able to practice every stage, right? So I started doing runs, and then stage 3 I often get stage 3 is often where my runs die. And then at one point in time, like I was like getting pretty frustrated. Later in this video, I'm gonna cover more about that. But so after a long while of frustration, eventually I was actually able to get the 1-all after maybe like I don't know how many hours actually. I don't remember. Maybe like 25ish, maybe. I don't know. So after getting, and then actually the run where I got the clear, I actually ran out of bombs at the last boss's final pattern. And then the final boss had like very little HP left, and so like I had no lives, no mobs left. And what I did at the final pattern, like I freaking just locked in at the moment. Like I didn't care about anything else at that moment. I just started dodging the lasers and stuff. And after a few seconds of what felt like forever, I finally killed the final boss. And then like at the moment, like I celebrated so hard. Like I was like cheering like so loudly. Like I had finally tackled it. So that was my experience in getting the Dodonpachi 1-all. Again, I'll be covering more on that later, specifically the frustration part. But all right, so the second what I'll be covering here is my Ketsui 1-all. Now, Ketsui is a freaking beast, dude. I actually heard that it was apparently the hardest 1-all, the hardest cave 1-all, and so knowing that I got this clear, I'm actually really stoked to get this clear. Like, Kitsui is such a hard game, but it's also such an awesome game. Like, I think it's actually one of my favorite shmups of all time. And so I actually, so earlier in the video I said like I I got into Kitsui Death Label, and then from there I started getting into Kitsui right. So so I actually tried Kitsui a bit on MAME, and I got my ass kicked. Obviously, I could not get past stage 3. Like the furthest I could get was stage 3, I believe, and I didn't really understand how the scoring system worked. So like at that point, I did 3 runs on MAME, and I was like, I am never getting the 1cc on Kitsui. Like, it's impossible. Like, there's no way I'm ever getting it. and then and just a few months later, I actually get it. Wow. So also something I want to share about my first one all. Uh, so my first one all I was actually a really lucky, like really clutch. Like I played really well. I believe like I was able to make it into stage five, like with like four lives, and then I was like able to like no miss all the way until the stage five mid boss, and then once I hit the stage five mid boss and I had five lives, and I was like I am gonna get the clear. Yeah, it's like GG's, dude. It's over. I've got it in the bag, and then so I just keep I start playing carefully from that point on. I bomb whenever I need to bomb. I don't try to do any stupid dodging, and I think I was able to make it like all the way. Like the last part, like the blue choppers, like it's like goes crazy, and then they caught my guard off, and then I like died once, right? And then it was very like near the final boss. There's these turrets like that like shoot like these blue bullets, and at that point, I actually ended up dying to them twice in a row. Like that was actually crazy. And so I was in the final. So I entered the final boss with one life and four bombs left. Although that's actually pretty good though. But since I actually had like four bombs, I was fortunately able to get past like the first few patterns without much trouble. And by the way, that was also the first time I ever made it to the final boss on one credit. And I'd actually practiced the final boss using save states, but this was the first time on one credit. So like my heart was like beating like crazy. So and then I was able to make it to the final phase, right? No lives, three bombs left, and then like once I got to the final phase, and then I used a bomb, and then I was like, I actually got it. I actually got it, and then so I press the bomb button. A few, I just keep spamming it, and then boom, Ketsui won all. I got it with no lives or no bombs left, and then I celebrated like really hard. By the way, I also did all of that with multiple people watching me. Like I think my mom, uh, and also around the time my uncle came over, and so he and my and also my 2 year old cousin were watching me. They were all watching me do all of this live, and then it's like wow, like that Kitsui 1 was a really freaking uh clutch run, dude. Like even I couldn't believe it back then. Like it really shocked me. So all right, next here, I want to go over my R type 101. Now I love R type. It's a classic. It is a classic, dude. Like and I also like really like R type because it focuses a lot on memorization. In R type, you can't just brute force through the game like you can like a lot of like other shmups. Like no, you have to actually route the game. You have to memorize every single thing the game throws at you. You gotta be careful of any gotcha moments. You have to actually learn the game, and you actually have to have a solid route, or else you're just gonna get fried. The game will just smoke you. And uh, getting the R-Type 1 actually took me some time. It was actually pretty challenging. Although it's also a game where I started getting a little frustrated with, like grinding runs like over and over again. And so I like one point I got like really mad, and I took uh, a break. Right. Actually, I remember having a run, an R type run. So I was like doing like really good. Like I was able to make it all the way to the last stage, and at the last stage, I somehow end up dying to like one of the little baby things. I died, and then like I was like shocked, and then I desperately tried to recover and stuff like that, but I failed. I failed. I got a game over on stage 8, and I think that I was like so bummed over that. I was like, wow, dude. And I think that was like also like part of like how I got like so frustrated back there. So I took a small break. I took like a few days before I started playing it again, and I believe in like the first few runs I was able to actually finally get the R Type 1 all. Yeah, and also by the way, if you can't tell, I got it using auto fire, and if you're not a fan of auto fire, then it's good for you, dude. But personally, I'm cool with using auto fire, and I'm gonna continue to use auto fire. So yeah, I think I'm actually gonna cover that a little later in the video. So yeah, and lastly, I want to go over my Rayforce 1cc. Now, Rayforce is a game I found like really cool actually for a while. Let you have this one weird memory. I was watching like Jamer's 1cc, clear of it. Jamers is a really freaking good player, dude. And so like back when I was like still not very good at shmups, like I watched his content like occasionally. I watch his clears some of the time. And Reforce I found back then to be a game that was like really cool. Like it had this like lock on system, and then he also said the game was like more. It was like ahead of its time with like its scoring system or something. And at the time, like I found it cool. I think like while I was like eating, I mean while I was like watching the video, like I was like eating some ice cream because it was like the summer. Like I was like watching this video to and cooling off and stuff, you know. And then I thought at the time, this is, but I also thought at the time like this game is pretty hard. I'm not once seeing it and ever, and then once again, I actually get the 1cc in the future. So at first, when I started actually like learning the game a month ago, it was really intimidating. Like it was like really intimidating. Like you firstly you only get like 2 extents, and that's it. That's all you get. And secondly, it's also a very memo based game. You have to do a lot of routing. It's very routing intensive. And especially stage 6 and 7 is where things go crazy. Stage 7 especially goes freaking crazy. And the Zako there, the Zako in stage 7 is nuts. Like, I think that's probably the only part of the game where, like, I think like when I was like still like grinding for 1cc's, like, or the better word, playing for 1cc's, I thought like I would like I always expected to die to the stage 7 Zakos, like lose 1 life. So I basically just had like 3 strikes for the whole game. 3 strikes, you're out. 3 lives for the whole game. And I was right on my on the run where I got the 1cc. The stage 7 Zako, it was my first death in the run, actually. Yeah, that's right. I was able to no miss all the way to stage 7, and at that point, when I entered stage 7 with 4 lives, I was like, Again, GG's. I got it in the bag. It's over, guys. And then so I was able to make it through the rest of the game, make it beat the final boss with two lives remaining, which I find pretty impressive actually. Yeah, and also, by the way, I did do a little bit of scoring in the early game, and while scoring in Ray Force, at least in the early game, is not really required for survival, but it does make it so that you get the extends a lot faster, and so I feel like that helps. And also, again, the lock-on system is cool. I kind of like the little beep 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 beep, and also the feeling of destroying multiple enemies at once with your little lock shot. So yeah, that's about it for this section. So earlier I mentioned on the while I was getting my Doronpachi 1 all, I had a lot of frustration. Like I kind of had a difficult time, and here I'm gonna elaborate more on that. And I want to say this: the 1cc mentality, like the way like chasing for clears can affect your brain psychologically, is wild. Like I think it needs to be studied because like when you're like chasing clears, right? So and then like you're trying to clear this very hard game, right? And then you're finally able to do it, right? And then you feel that rush, like you feel really happy, like you feel really accomplished, right? But over time, like you're eventually at one point you're gonna have to reach higher because you're not gonna feel the you're not gonna get the experience of clearing a game for the first time again. I mean, sure, you can play with other shot types. You can go for a 2 all or whatever, but once you get that 2 all, you can't get that same satisfaction again, right? And it's either you you get better at that game, you reach further than you have, or you you move on and find another game to clear, possibly one that's even harder than whatever game you're working on. And another part of the 1cc mentality I want to talk about now, I want to make this clear. There's nothing wrong with playing for 1cc's, all right? It is a really fun experience. But when you like take like getting like a 1cc too seriously, like when you like obsess over it, then it can become a problem. It can become problematic. And that's why earlier I mentioned my Doronpachi 1 all, right? I want to go into more detail about that. So a few times in my Donpachi 1 all journey, right? So I said like I kept on screwing up on stage 3, right? And around that time, like I had this like reset syndrome mentality. Like every time I died on stage 3, like I just reset, and every reset made me more and more frustrated. And then I started to get more and more resentful of the game. And then I think like one time I got a run, a Donpachi run, like it was going like good, uh, uh, until it was like stage 5, and I had like it was like going well so far. Like I didn't like things were going like on route, right? It was like going totally well, and then suddenly I got caught off guard and I died with full bombs, and then I started panicking, and I was like, but But since I was like so far, like I was in stage 5, right? So I didn't want to reset, but I already thought in my mind like it's over, like I'm not gonna get it. So I keep going a little further. I try to play a little better, but then guess what? I die again. So at that point, I think like at the point like I got like really frustrated. Like I got like really mad. I like shut off the game. And, like rage quitted basically. And I think also at one point like I I've had this thing happen to me like multiple times during my journey. Like I had a good run until like stage 5 where I screwed up and didn't have enough resources to make it to make it to make it past stage 6 and then and the final boss and stuff. And I think I remember like a few times I actually cried. Yeah, that sounds a little silly, but I'm actually serious here. I actually cried over a video game, and it was at this point like I was like it was very obvious to me like I was getting frustrated with the game, right? And as much as I wanted to take a break, same thing. I was like stubborn. I was like no, and then like why? Because like Dononpachi is one of the easiest 1CCs, right? Like why should I be struggling with this? I should keep going. If all these experts can do two wall runs and stuff like that, then I can do this stupid little simple one all, right? And then I, f- I forced myself to keep playing and keep doing runs, even though I was clearly frustrated. All because of my stubbornness. And only after a certain point was where finally my brain just finally started like gaining back sanity, and I was like, dude, take a break. Please take a break. Like your mental health is not worth screwing like ruining over a freaking video game. So I finally got that sanity back, and I finally stepped back. Finally stepped back from Dononpachi. I think I took like a few days, like a long while. I I mean I took a while to just calm down and take a break, and then a few days later, I come back to Dononpachi, and I start doing runs again. I'm finally in the headspace to like not like force myself to like play and stuff, and then I was still not much better, but eventually after a while, I was actually able to get my clear, and then when I got my clear, like again, I was like so happy, like I had finally like tackled such a difficult game, right? And but after a point, I realized like, well, was all that frustration and like crying like really worth it? Like, was all that mental like effort like really worth it for this for a video game? And like I know, and like I get that, by the way. I get that frustration of like putting like so much work into a one all or 1CC, and then you just don't get it. You just like keep screwing up stuff, and then you see like these super skilled players like doing all these super plays, and then like you start being self conscious, and like you're like I should not be struggling with this. Like they can do much harder clears than me, like effortlessly. Like, well, why am I struggling with this? But then you gotta realize it's your own journey, dude. Like you, at one point, you really gotta stop thinking about. You gotta stop thinking about others, and you gotta focus on your own journey, right? You gotta stop being so self-conscious, and and yeah, and also another thing, like when I was like forcing myself to do Dononpachi runs, right? I was basically treating Dononpachi like some sort of god that needed to be pleased, or some sort of ancient god that could only be pleased by doing the one all and stuff. And like I was like so dramatic, like over dramatic when I screwed things up. It was like my life, like. And looking back at it, like I'm like really ashamed. Like I don't know why I was like acting like that. Like my whole mood was changed over this video game. It's like it wouldn't even matter in the real world. Like like of course, like again, I can see like why you could you could sometimes like take it seriously, right? But at the end of the game, I mean, at the end of the day, it is simply just a video game, and I'm not downplaying like the effort that they like put in or like how good these games are, but I'm just saying like you really shouldn't put this much like you like really shouldn't like be like bummed out or like no I mean like too obsessive over like getting the 1cc or whatever, because at the end of the day, the goal of a video game is to have fun, even if you're like if like hardcore and like getting like hard 1cc's and no misses. Like the point of a video game is to have fun, and if you're like forcing yourself to play, if like forcing yourself like do all these runs, then it's gonna end badly. All right, so what I'm gonna say is don't don't let it take over your life. Like don't take it too seriously. Don't let it don't let the 1cc of whatever game you're playing consume you. Remember that there's there are other things in life that are more important than and getting the 1cc. All right, so that's what I'm gonna say here. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that Touhou Project was the Touhou Project series was what got me into was what introduced me into the bullet hell subgenre, and it also helped me get a lot more curious about the shmup genre as a whole. It kind of introduced it helped introduce me into the 1cc play style. Basically, helped me to get more invested in the interested in the genre. So if you somehow don't know what it is, Touhou is basically this long running Dojin series. It started off as just a bullet hell game series, but then eventually it just exploded in popularity in Japan, and now it has a lot of artworks, it has a lot of music, manga, stuff like that. So people, a lot of Touhou fans know it from more. They know it more from like the story and the fan works and the mangas and stuff like that, more than the main games. And there's also a few fighting game spin-offs too that were released over the years. And apparently in the Touhou community, there's these types of people that don't play the games are like referred to as secondaries, while people who do play the games are referred to as primaries or whatever. It's a little uh gatekeepy ish in my opinion, like the bad gatekeepy, but whatever. And also, if you couldn't tell, a lot of people know it because it has a lot of girls. Yeah. So it's also the whole series is based a lot in Japanese mythology and yokais. So like the basic part of the story, it's set in this magical land called Gensokyo. It's sealed off from the rest of the world, and in this land live yokai. Now, many thousands of years ago, yokai used to roam Japan a lot, but then as like humans got more advanced and started becoming more scientific, they lost their beliefs in yokai, and because yokai are very dependent on like the fear of humans, they start dying. So So and then eventually like Gensokyo is created, and then now in like in order to like for them to still living for the yokai to live, there's a whole human village, and these humans like fear the yokai, so it basically like yeah, basically like feeds them, you know. But there actually there are like regulations where the yokai cannot eat humans from the human village. They can only eat outsiders. Sorry for getting a little like too in detail, but so sometimes these yokai cause incidents. They basically cause trouble, and then when this happens, our protagonist, Reimu Hakure. Yeah, I definitely my pronunciation is a little bad, but the Shrine Maiden, she comes to stop whatever the yokai is doing. Basically, put an end. But she does sometimes work with yokai though. Sometimes she's also assisted with her friend Marissa Girisame, a witch, a magician who is well known for using flashy magic stuff. So that's the basic info about the series. So how I got into the series in the first place. So it all goes back into 2022, right? And I back then I played a lot of Minecraft, and honestly, I have not played Minecraft in a long time. I kind of got to get back into it, but and oftentimes I'd visit this server called Hypixel, and like in like one of like the game modes, there is one of one of the possible like music you can play is a note block rendition of Flowering Night from Touhou 9. And then now eventually this led me into discovering Touhou, and then I was like, this series like really intrigued me back then. I was like really interested. And so I actually wanted to start off with the first game in the series. So I got like the PC 98 emulator, and then it had like some text in Japanese. And because like I was dumb back then, I didn't realize that it just said like put in a disc or something like that. So I was like, whatever. And then so instead I, I started with one of the Windows games, Touhou 10. And I think Touhou 10 is actually a really excellent introduction, actually. It's actually not very complicated, I'd say. It's also like, I think, it's also the first Touhou game to like tie your shot power to bombing. So if you bomb, you lose you lose a portion of your shot powers. That means you have to carefully decide when to use your bombs and stuff. And I think yeah, it's not very like overcomplicated. Or and I also played some Touhou 11. Apparently 11 is one of the harder entries of the series, but yeah. Although since I was bad, of course I after playing normal for a bit, I realized like it was it was like too difficult for me, and I started playing on easy. And I think there's actually like a whole meme in the Touhou community that, that basically pokes fun at like easy mode players. Like the easy mode, oh, ha ha ha. Only kids play easy mode or something like that. And when I first heard of this, it's like of this meme. It was like kind of funny, like the idea of like these game characters that are aware of like people in the real world playing their game and like not being good at them, and then and then making fun of those players is kind of funny, but it's not meant to be taken seriously. All right, for any beginners who are looking at in these games, that the meme is not meant to be taken seriously. If you want to play easy mode, if you're comfortable with easy mode, play easy mode. I don't care, and not a lot of people will either. Uh, yeah, and the other thing was earlier I said like Touhou introduced me to the bullet hell subgenre, right? And so like recently at the time, I had also just played like Darius Twin for the SNES, right? So I most of the shmups I've played before that point were classic style shooters. And then when I discovered the bullet hell genre, like Touhou, and like I was like really, it kind of opened like a whole new world in my mind. Like the idea of like this new type of shoot 'em up, where there's a lot of bullets on screen, and to compensate you have this tiny hitbox so you can dodge them. It like really interested me, and so I think it got me more curious about the shoot 'em up genre, and then I started like looking over like the internet about shoot 'em ups and bullet hells, and also, and that's also how I found out about the 1cc playstyle, as I said earlier. And then so after a little digging, I start to get a few beginner clears, and one of these beginner clears was a Touhou 8 Easy 1cc. It's a very approachable for beginners, by the way. I didn't have much trouble getting that when back then when I wasn't a very skilled player. Right, so fast forward to 2023, I finally managed to play the PC98 game for the first time, and they don't they did not disappoint. Like they gave me another new perspective on the series, and the PC98 games are less known than the Windows games. So that of course also got me interested to play them. And then I got another beginner clear, the Touhou 4 Easy 1cc. And I think on Easy 1cc in Touhou 4 is actually very beginner friendly. Like it is, along with Touhou 8. If you are a beginner looking to like get into like Touhou or Shmups, and you want to get like a really easy 1cc to start with, and I would really recommend those two. Yeah, and then I also mentioned like even as I started like losing interest in shmups, I still occasionally played Touhou on normal mode to see how far I'd get, and I didn't mention that like I could actually get decently far on a single credit, but I wasn't really interested in getting a 1cc though. I just wanted to clearly get my own credit. So yeah, that's Touhou did definitely do a did definitely play a big role in introducing me and getting me into the getting me more into shmups in the first place. And it's also something I want to talk about, because Touhou, coming back now as a more skilled player, Touhou games and cave games are a lot different. So Touhou games, every pattern is designed to be no miss, no bombed. It's designed to be possible without dying. And so it's basically more focusing on your dodging skills, how much how far you can push your dodging skills, right? But cave focuses more on routing, and I think that's why a lot of like Touhou players, when they come into cave, they find cave games to be a lot more difficult, because in cave games routing is more essential. You're meant to use your resources and your bombs, and also like in like cave games, if you don't route, Like oftentimes you, you like don't know like how to like route a stage or something. Like especially in the later parts of the game, it's very easy to get walled. And I know you can get walled sometimes in Touhou as well, but I wouldn't say it happens as often as it's in Cave. In for like stuff like that, for like cave games, I think like cave games in general, like you're meant to use your resources. You're meant to use every single resource you got. While Touhou, it's more focused on how well you can dodge, and I think that's why also in Touhou, uh, bombs aren't as bosses are actually more of a are more emphasized because they shoot more patterns, right? And bosses in Touhou are a lot more longer. They're a lot more stretched out than a cave boss. They have a lot of patterns and spell cards that you and also I think part of the scoring system in Touhou games is perfecting a spell card or a pattern. You get score for you get a score bonus for like perfecting a spell card, and if you like bomb during a spell card or die, then you'll lose that bonus. You won't get anything. So dodging. So basically, once again, dodging is pure dodging is emphasized in Touhou, while routing is emphasized more in Cave. And I think that's why like both like Touhou and Cave players kind of like different. You know what I mean? I'm also gonna go more in depth like later about because like the Shmup community back then was like a lot more it was like a lot more mean, I guess. And so like if like mentioned Toho, like they were like really not like that. Like Toho like being mentioned, like they really didn't like Toho to be mentioned. Like you would basically get like insulted and stuff. So more on that later. The the Shmup community is probably one of the coolest places I've ever come across on the internet. And my perspective on it has like really expanded like ever since I actually started getting serious with and more involved with the genre. And now as a beginner, I mean I still I still found the community to be not too bad. Like it was still pretty cool to me, but like I when I was beginner I thought like a good chunk of like the shmup community was like really hardcore, like more hardcore than I think, because like back then like I watched a lot of like Jamers videos and other replays by like super players and stuff like that, and kind of like made me think like the shmup community is like full of like these really like these really like super expert players, and also that like they kind of like look down on like less skilled players, like beginners. Like I thought like they would laugh at like easy 1cc's or like find it like very trivial, but in reality like that was like not the case at all. Like when I actually started interacting more like with the shmup community, like for example on like r/shmups on Reddit, because most of Reddit is actually pretty bad, completely trash, but the shmup subreddit is one of the few places that actually have some value to them. And I found out like the shmup community is actually a lot more chill than I thought it was as a beginner. Like even like I've seen like many posts on the sub like of like someone like getting like an easy mode 1cc, a novice mode, and then the whole community was like cheering for them. Like like the vast majority was like saying like, "Yo, GG, dude! And then like also like giving suggestions on like where to go from that point, uh like what games to try to 1cc next and stuff like that. Like it's it's so small, but yet it's also so passionate. That's also another thing I want to say. Like the thing I've noticed with shmup YouTubers, like they, I can tell that they do it for the pure love of the game, cause and not for views or likes or whatever, because because shmups are really very unpopular. They are a very unpopular video game genre. Actually, they do not get much views, and that comes from experience. Like I think my first ever video of like my GG Last two Alesta 2 1cc, it got like around like 10 views when it was like first uploaded. And then so I think that's why like I started to like post on the shmup Reddit a lot more, so that more more of my like act like more like more people who were into shmups could see it, you know. And like yeah, and also more on like the passionate of like there's a lot of discussion on like the on like controllers or like and like arcade sticks, like input methods. And I'm gonna be honest here. For my for most of my clears, I use a simple ass Logitech keyboard. Yeah, it's not much, but it works. It works, and that's also another thing I like about shmups. You don't have to have like a super extra fancy setup or something. Like you don't have to have like a very high end PC, whatever. Like just to get good at these games. Like you can just have a regular PC, heck, even a bad PC, and just a regular old keyboard or controller, and you're still able to get some pretty solid clears. You're still able to actually gather some skill. Shmups like so much, and like overall, like the community is like so is like such like like such a nice place to like be in. Like it's so passionate. Like I like rarely see like any like actual frauds or tourists or whatever. Like the majority of the people like I've seen in like these shmup these shmup spaces, they're they like actually they're really into it, you know? Like they're really passionate about the genre. And then also another thing, like more about like I used to think like every most of the shmup community like do plays for 1ccs, right? And then but then I found out that's not quite the case. Not everyone plays for 1ccs. It's like some people I've seen some people in the community who like to crank the difficulty up to the highest and see how much they can master the game from that point. Like they're not 1ccs are not their thing. They just want pure challenge and they want to try to do their best to deal with it. And some people are just like they just play for fun. Like they credit feed through like games and they have a lot of fun with it. And honestly, if you're having fun with it and if you play shmups at all, you can call yourself a shmupper. Yeah, like don't give a crap about like what anyone else says. Like this is not a hierarchy or like some sort of like you're not a king just because you like get like 1ccs or whatever. Like and yeah, that's another good that's another thing I like about the shmup community. Once again, like they're like very supportive of each other. Like earlier, as I said, like whether you play, whether you play for 1CCs or play for score, or like are a super player. Like I've like rarely had like any like any like any people like that, any people in the community that like look down on like less skilled players. Like in fact, most of the skilled players are actually some of the more so some of the more uh nicer ones in general. Actually, like they tend to be the ones like give the most advice. like like they really know the genre, and they want to help others. They want to help beginners to improve their skills too. like like the Shmup community, it's so small and yet so passionate. Like it is like really an amazing community. But not every community is perfect though. Like the Shmup community, apparently I've heard there's as some like like I have seen like some, like I've heard of like some drama like years ago. Like, I can't give any proper examples, but like yeah, not every community is gonna be perfect, and I'm gonna cover that in the next part. So overall, the Shmup community is freaking awesome. Like you all are really amazing people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, guys. Not just what I want to say. As I mentioned earlier, the Shmup community, like any other community, is not perfect. There's always going to be so there's always going to be some division, some you know d- debate. You know what I'm saying? And earlier in the video, I mentioned the use of auto fire. Now, this is definitely a topic that is somewhat, I'd say it's kind of up for debate in the Shmup community, because while while I do think that most of the Shmup community is completely okay with the use of auto fire, there's also definitely a small portion of people who disapprove of it, who think auto fire is cheating because it wasn't used in the original arcades, right? There wasn't any auto fire used. You had to actually mash, and it also there's also a lot of cheeses that could be done in these arcade games and with auto fire. Like some games like Vimana, for example, 30 hertz auto fire completely trivializes the game, makes it a lot easier, and I think that's why those people are against are against auto fire, because like they it seems like a lot of them grew up, actually that grew up back in the day, like in the arcades and with no auto fire, and like they had to like play these games like mashing the button, and now they they go online and then see all these like kids like using their so-called rapid fire button, and then that destroys everything, and then I mean, honestly, I can kind of see why. Like, to be honest, it is kind of cheating, yeah, but from what I heard somewhere, it's sort of the cheating that's not really that bad. That's that's reasonable, because like the alternative is having to mash for a lot of minutes. You know, you gotta constantly mash it, and then that can, over a long period of time, that can actually like actually hurt your hands, you know. And I've actually heard some people, some pretty old gamers like say that like they used to like not use auto fire, but then like their hands, as they were getting older, like their hands like started to hurt and stuff, and so they finally gave in and started using auto fire, and they felt a lot more relieved because of that. So yeah, and honestly, if anyone here has a problem with like me using auto fire, I have no problem with that. Like if you think it's cheating, that's okay. Uh, you're always free to watch a run that doesn't have auto fire. I'm not here to please anybody. All right, I I do this stuff because I find it fun. I'm not trying to please. I'm not trying to please some random person online who who thinks that auto fire is cheating. All right, I use auto fire because I'm fine with it. All right, so yeah, and there's also there's also earlier again in the video I said something around like the Shmup community like a few years ago like used to be a little more toxic, you could say, and I did kind of exaggerate on there. Like I don't think like the Shmup community back then was like that bad, but it was definitely like kind of like a lot more toxic than it is today. At least that's how it seems to me. It's early, like earlier again in the video, you know how so like Touhou and like cave players like different. Yeah, apparently there was also a sort of divide between like the arcade shmup community and the Touhou community. I think the Electric Underground has a video on that. I might I'm gonna link it in the description below. I think he does a lot better, a way better job at uh, explaining that than I am. But yeah, like people in like in the like art, like some are like arcade players like play the cave, like look at like Touhou and like think of like it's like bad, and that cave is superior, and then the Touhou fans look at the cave players and they're like, well, the Touhou games are actually fair. Your cave games are designed to quarters, and that's why you have to bomb, because Touhou you can no miss and no bomb every single pattern, but in cave you gotta bomb it too. But thing is, in cave games, it is also technically possible to no miss no bomb them. Actually, it just takes a little more time because again, cave games are more focused on routing rather than pure dodging. And apparently, I heard like there was this Japanese player somewhere who was able to no miss no bomb the entirety of Ketsui, including the Ura loop and the TLB, which I think is freaking crazy. But it also proves like these, like the cave games are also able to be no miss no bomb, you know, and also like the key players like who used to like look down on like Touhou and like say like it sucks, and it's like the patterns are like way blander than give or something like first of all, the Touhou series was very directly inspired by cave. I think Zun I think got the idea of like making like Touhou to a bullet hell because he like played Dodonpachi, and I think like also S Parade and like a few other cave shmups were also like huge inspirations to him when he was making the Touhou series. Like when I like was like coming back and like playing the PC 98 games again, I you can notice that like some patterns are actually seem to be very directly inspired from Dodonpachis. Like I think like it's like a few patterns like Touhou 4 and 5 that are like they're like they're like very similar to the final like the stage 6 boss's last pattern in Dononpachi. It's kind of hard to explain in words. I think it's a lot easier if you just to see it yourself. You know what I mean? But so sorry for getting off track. But apparently this division is also kind of like brings out like the worst in people, because like I have seen in places like not just like not just like in the like shmup community, but also elsewhere, that apparently there's like people that call Touhou fans PDF files because like like the series has like girls and stuff. And I'm not gonna deny that, well, the Touhou series does attract a lot of creeps, like of course, dude. Apparently it's like gotten to a point like where like women who are like fans of the series like purposely don't reveal their gender online, because so that creeps won't like hit them up and try to like get with them or something. But yeah, and I think like this thing specifically like calling Touhou fans PDF files is more relevant now than ever, especially since if you know, a few weeks ago the files were released. If you know, you know. And there are a lot of disgusting things on it. And so something I want to say is like these people who are like openly like calling like Touhou fans like PDF files and stuff like that, I don't think like they actually care about, you know, the victims that have been harmed from like actual evil PDFs. Because if they like really cared about like stopping these PDFs, then they would actually like take their time and like use their voice to like put in their effort to like actually help like victims and like help bring justice to these PDFs, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, my point is like if you have the time to like call like fans of this bullet hell of a bullet hell series PDF files, then once again I don't think you actually care about PDF files. That's just what I'm saying. That's just my take. And also another thing, this division, while I see less of it in the modern shmup community, there's still like tiny fragments of it. It's kind of hard to explain, but like not really in the shmup community more so, but I think more so like in general. I think like there was somewhere on like this one like Instagram post, I believe. I was just like browsing, and it was this post about indie games, right? And then some dude was like commented something like Touhou is like the best bullet hell ever, the best bullet hell game ever. And then some dude was like, shut up, dude, Touhou sucks. You got, if you want to play a real bullet hell game, you got to play some Dononpachi, you know. And then in response, the Touhou dude says, well, why would I play that crap when Touhou is infinitely better in every way? So there is definitely some of that division today. And I want to, the Shmup community is definitely not perfect. Like, no community is perfect. And I think, but for such a small community like this, I think we should try to be more understanding, you know, because there's not a lot of people like us, you know. And like, even though like this community is like already like, it has already like matured a lot, you know what I mean? But we still gotta, I believe like we still just gotta, you know, relax sometimes, you know. Like at the end of the day, these are just video games, all right? So yeah, I guess that's what I have to say here. So as for my shmup goals for 2026, I don't really have a concise list, but there are a few games which I'm looking to get serious with this year. And the first of these games is Dodonpachi Dai Ojo, specifically the Black Label version. Now, I have heard a lot of this game, and it, it it's the third entry in the Donpachi series, and it is very very well known in the shmup community. Personally, I don't have I haven't put much time into this game myself, but from what I've played of it, I do find it to be pretty cool. Uh, so I actually asked a few people online, since I've like already cleared Ketsui, done a Kitsui one all, because Kitsui and Daiojo were were released in a very short, close time span to each other, and they also have the same developer. So I was like, which is harder? And the common consensus was that Daiojo Black Label was a lot easier than Kitsui, because it like gives you more to work with. It's apparently a lot more lenient. And yeah, but I've also heard that apparently one person thought that Ketsui was a lot easier than Daiojo, and apparently it took this person three time three times the amount of time it took for him to clear Ketsui to clear Daiojo Black Label, and he found Ketsui a lot easier, but in comparison. So that shows that like difficulty really is subjective. Like different people are gonna find different things difficult, and there's also another thing I kind of like about the shmup community. There's like a lot of diverse perspectives, like about like games, and especially about like difficulty. So I'm looking to get the M2 port, maybe on Switch. Be, from what I've seen, the Diojo port, reincarnation or something. Yeah, it's a Japan exclusive, so you're gonna have to get it from the Japanese eShop, so or the Japanese store, whatever. If you're on like PS4, the Japanese PPS store. Uh, all right, and I'm really looking forward to getting serious in Daiojo, because because it is like one of the most legendary uh, bullet hells of all time, Danmaku's. It's very influential, and I want to actually start to like play it to more to, and see if I end up liking it more than Kitsui. So yeah, all right. So the second game I'm looking forward to clearing this year is Rising's Battle Garega. Yeah, I've also heard a lot about this one too. Uh, this game is most well known for its crazy rank system, which you must tame in if you want to master the game. And if you don't learn how to tame the rank system, it's gonna bite you in the ass hard. Uh, so again, this is not a game I've spent a lot of time with actually, and I'm looking forward to getting the M2 port on PS4. It does have an English release, the Western release. So I'll see about that. But Gorega, actually, I did mention that game earlier. Back in a few years ago, like even like as a noob, I really loved Garega, because like although I couldn't like master the, I couldn't really get far in the game. Like there's like so many characters and like so many mechanics and stuff. So it's definitely a game I want to revisit and actually get back to get the 1cc. And I've also heard that this game is like really intimidating. Like I think unlike the there's like a Japanese shmup STG difficulty list out there, and so it basically ranks like a lot of like arcade shmups by difficulty from a scale of 1 to 50, and Garega falls at 25. And for comparison, Ketsui is lands at a 21, and I believe like also Daiojo lands at 21 as well. And apparently, Ketsui, Daiojo, and Garega are part of like the Shmup Holy Trinity or something. So I definitely want to try my hand at mastering this crazy game, and actually like putting more time into it, because I do need to broaden my uh I do need to start playing more games again. I want to like start sharpening my skills more, and I feel Garega is the perfect game for that, because it has rank that you gotta learn to control, and I think like it also is like has like a lot of like other like gimmicky stuff too, like the auto fire rate, for instance. Like so from what I heard, like you start at like 8 hertz, and like you can gradually increase it. I think so. From 8 hertz, you can go to 10 hertz, and then from 10 hertz, you go to 12, and to 12 to 15, so on. But 15 is apparently the maximum amount of damage, maximum amount of DPS that they can deal. You can go all the way up to 30, but that is not recommended, as it jacks up the rank really high, and it also does the exact same damage that you would do at 15 hertz. So Garega definitely seems like a very interesting game. So I am looking forward to getting clear on that this year, and also maybe another rising game, Armed Police Bat Rider. I want to try clearing its advanced course. I did clear the normal course around a year ago, but I do want to go back and do the advanced course, because Bat Rider is also cool as hell, like really awesome. So yeah, all right. So another game I would like to clear this year is Esprade. Now this one I've also heard a lot about, and it's also it's also like it's also Cave's first shmup outside of the Donpachi series, and this one is Esprade has a lot more focus on a story, like a backstory. So instead of like uh spaceships, you play as like actual people, and there's like a whole there's like backstory and like meaning to the characters and the stages. So that is a thing I like. That's the thing I'm definitely interested in, and also apparently I've heard that like this game is definitely very I don't know how to describe it, unique, I guess, because like from what I've seen, like the hitbox is kind of weird apparently, and also like the bullets are very small and have like small gaps, so it's definitely going to be an interesting challenge for me. And I think like also like there are like it's like a lot of RNG involved too. Like some like I've heard like some patterns are like you you can just have like bad luck and like get walled. I think like especially on like patterns on like the stage 4 or 5 boss or whatever, something like that. Yeah, Esperate is also is definitely seems really like a really interesting game to me. The M2 port for Esperate is also Japan exclusive, so I want to see if I can try to get maybe the Switch version of it. I don't know, because by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I do have a Switch actually, but there's an ax a few years ago. There was like a little accident that happened, and one of the Joy Cons ended up being damaged. I mean, there is the other half of the Joy-Con, but that one has stick drift. So I'm also looking to like purchase like a new Switch controller, so I can actually start playing games on it again. So yeah, all right. And then the last game I'm looking forward to clear is Ray Storm. Now I had already cleared Ray Force a month ago, and I did play a little bit of Raystorm. I actually did a little bit of practice of it actually, and Raystorm is leagues more difficult than Rayforce. Firstly, Raystorm in Raystorm you do not get extends. You do not get a single extend. You are you only got 2 lives, and that is it. Also, like apparently like the rank is like more. It's more like chaotic. It's it's just an overall more difficult game. Like you're gonna have to do a lot more routing, and then there's also a lot of RNG. Like the stage 5 boss especially is a good example of that. Like I think like every attack is decided by RNG, and there's like a whole pool of them, and they're very fast too. So you gotta learn how to react quickly to them, or else you're just gonna get smoked. And also the stage 6 boss, the stage 6 boss is freaking hard, dude. It's probably gonna be my arch nemesis if I ever try to clear this game, because it took me so long to like get the routing right on that one. Uh, and also the final boss is also insane. Like you also gotta like route that one, and also some of the attack stuff I've had trouble with, like especially like the one with like the homing mines. I've had some trouble with that one. Like even though like I kind of like develop like a little strategy where you can like misdirect them a little, it's still not super consistent, and sometimes I still end up getting the mines still end up catching up to me, and I freaking die. So and more, and again that Japanese list again. Race Storm is a 30, and apparently I think so. That's already 5 points higher than Garega. And I think like also close to the 30 mark is a Doronpachi 2-all. So a Race Storm 1cc. Honestly, I'm not so sure about Race Storm, but I do want to at least try to clear it. Maybe this year, who knows? And one last thing, I want to try my hand at getting my first serious 2-all, and I did actually do a bit of second loop practice on Donpachi actually, on the nerfed US version though, since I'm not very skilled. And even on like the even on the easier like US version, the second loop in Donpachi is still pretty rough. Still, it's it is still nasty. And stage 4 is where I started like putting the game down and like stop practicing, because like it's where like you really have to like route like every move like carefully, or you're gonna well gets you're gonna die, you know. So yeah, I've also heard that a Doronpachi Resurrection or Naifukatsu, it's it's Lamote Tual is not very hard. Apparently, it's the easiest cave Tual, and I think on the Japanese list that's a 21, so that's near a Ketsui difficulty. So I will have to check uh, Resurrection out on Steam. I'll have to wait for a sale. So I don't really have much clear goals other than those, but we'll have to see throughout the year. Who knows, right? Things change, so like can only just we can only just watch and see what happens. So yeah. So this was one heck of a journey, yo. As I said before, shmups are in fact a very niche genre of games, and that is for a reason because they they're very not only they're very challenging, they take time to actually get good at. You know, they're not exactly an easy genre, you know, but I think that's why I really started to get more into the genre actually because and it's not it's not like a lot of other games where you're just gonna play through and then complete them once and then that's it. Like maybe you'll replay it a few times, but you won't go much further than that. But in the shmup genre, though, there's always more to do. You can always improve. You know, it encourages mastery. You know, like you have to like after like each one CC, you gotta either as I said again before, you get better at the game or you move on to something else, right? And shmups are a really different experience from other games, you know, especially the one CC playstyle, uh, you know, and also the community. The community is probably one of the best parts of playing these games because I heard somewhere like back in the day, right? Like arcade games were designed to like they're like designed in which like there would be like a, a bunch of people around this one cabinet, right? And then you would or maybe even a notebook, and you would all put in things that you discovered while playing strategies, and then others will try to pick up from where you left off and try to see how much further they can get and any new strategies they're able to implement, so that way like they can like all collectively help each other get better and better and better at the game, and then also find more enjoyment in it. And I think that is what the shmup community is in a way. Like look, like there's plenty of people around sharing strategies, asking for help. There's many beginners that are wondering what games to play, what 1ccs to get. Like after their novice mode 1cc, and then there's also other players who are like struggling with like some difficult clears and asking for help, how to like improve their routing, and then other people in the community they give advice on how to help. Maybe even some like even go as far as to make video guides, you know, on like how to 1cc a game, you know, and it's not like other communities, because in like most like gaming communities, like especially the most skill based ones, like if you were like a beginner and you like ask for help, like a lot of the time like you'll just get like laughed at, you know, like there's gonna be people that will call you a noob, that they're gonna say that you suck, they're gonna tell you to like they're gonna be asshats, they're not gonna give you any advice. But in the shmup community, if you ask for help, like it doesn't matter the difficulty level of whatever you're playing, there's gonna be there's gonna be others that will come in and give you helpful advice, and then you'll take their advice to heart, right? And then remember it for the next runs you do, right? And like this stuff is really this. I've really come a long way ever since I've started this channel last year. Like ever since that point, like I've learned so many new things about the genre. Like my perspective was like really expanded, and like honestly, like I'm like really grateful to be here, to be a part of the shmup community. Like this is like this community is like really full of such great people, such amazing people, you know. And I just want to say, like, to all of you who are part of the community, thank you so much for being here. Like, you are really the best. Like I'm really grateful for this journey, like for my shmup journey. Not only did it like help me to of course get better at shmups and then learn more about the genre, but it also helped me become more mature in myself too. It helped me to control my emotions better, because like I used to get like really mad, and now like I've learned to like control my temper more, and to take and to take a break when you need to, right? So yeah. Now I don't know where I heard this, but often in the community, you're gonna hear something that is similar to these words: shooting game never die. And I agree. I don't think shooting games will ever die. Maybe they will in 1,000 years. Who knows? When like or like when we like all go extinct, and aliens discover, maybe they'll maybe they'll discover the shmup community back then. Maybe they'll discover all the advice we shared, all the all the brotherhood. Who knows, man? Because like a lot of people are gonna say shmups are dead, but maybe, and you know what? They kind of are. Look at what happened to Cave. They used to be. They used to make a lot of arcade, a lot of arcade danmakus, right? Like they were like really well known for that, and now they no longer make any arcade games. After Saidai Ojo, they just straight up left the arcade scene. Now they mostly make gotcha games, which is honestly kind of sad, but like I can understand why. Like the STD genre again is unpopular. And if it's unpopular, then it was not going to make much money, right? And then K finally decided to drop out. It totally makes sense business wise, but but others, people in the community, they are keeping it alive. Like, look at how much indie shmups are being made. A lot of dojin shmups. Like, I honestly think that like these indie shmup devs are actually carrying the genre. So, and that's also another great thing. Like, even though shmups might be dead to some, but to us, it it's not dead. I'll say it again. Shooting game never die. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching. If you came here to watch the whole thing, thank you even more for sitting through 1 hour of my incoherent rambling. Uh, I guess I'll have to see you another time. Peace out, guys, and have an amazing day, whoever you are. See ya.